All right, Sonic movie fans, welcome to episode 118 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about Sonic news, and Sonic movie news, and video game movie reviews, such as this week's episode. My name is Ethan, and with me here to shoot myself in the head is Devin.
Arigato.
Really, that's it? Goodbye? We just started.
I'm just saying, like, for a quote, that's all. I'm not going to even try.
Really?
If we're gonna watch any more movies that aren't in English, I'm probably just gonna hope for a single word that they mention at some point, and that's gonna be the quote.
You just say the English. You don't have to say it in Japanese.
But no one will get. It's not the same. It's about the pronunciation. It's about the execution.
I'm surprised there is no. Well, we watched it on Amazon Prime Video. There was no dub. Because like the games
I thought there was gonna be
were in English. I know like the voice actors, you know what I mean? Not personally, but I mean I know who they are. So it's just surprising. We watched for today's episode Persona 3 the movie #1, Spring of Birth.
Classic.
The
Japanese
first of four Persona 3 movies. I think I actually didn't look up anything about like how this came about, but I know Persona 4 and then later 5 got basically animated shows, adaptations of their games. So I think they're like, well, Persona 3 is like a little too old now. Let's just do like nostalgia-heavy adaptations in a 4-part movie series, I guess. But we watched the first of the 4 called Spring of Birth. It is a thing we watched. It's 99 minutes. Doesn't have a box office. This was probably straight to DVD or whatever. In 2013 is when this came out. So
this is high school, baby.
Well, I don't know what the month is. We could have been out, you know. Could have been out of high school.
It's the year, though. You know what I mean? It's like the whole, like, wow,
and then
we did it.
Basically, yeah, there was one a year. 2013, 14, 15, and 16. They went through.
Damn, they're just banging through.
Yeah, I mean, they probably were just kind of going through them and not stopping. You know, it's not like there's a press tour. But yes.
Some animator for 4 years straight worked on this. He's like, I'm so
probably
fucking done.
Although one thing I will say is I really did enjoy like there's always just like a colored glow on everything, and like the hair of these characters in some scenes. I'm like, I actually like this. Looks like it isn't just, you know, made for TV, you know, cheap anime or cheap animation. Like looks like there was a budget and time committed.
Yeah, it
to
does look
some of this.
visually pretty good. Like, I'm not saying it's like
it's not
high end, but it's definitely like on the better side than it is on.
It's something like, yes, this is an OVA.
We had Pokemon movies that looked worse than this come out around this time.
We had Pokemon movies that were the same animation quality as the shows. That's wild to me. Besides maybe a like 3D scenescape for Lugia to fly through in like a scene, you know, it was still the same quality. It's just in 16:9.
Or the 3D would be like the title screen or something.
Yeah.
Pokemon!
At the very best, it's like the old Beauty and the Beast thing where it's like the ballroom was a 3D set that they just spin through once, and that's it, you know. In any case, we're not talking about Pokemon. We're talking about Persona 3.
The better anime.
Yes. Well, in terms of this, why don't we talk about because for every one of these video game movies, we say like, hey, how familiar are we with it? And I usually have you go first. I'm going to go first this time. Persona is a series I have a weird respect, dislike, admiration, secret excitement for, and also public like, no, it ain't good relationship with it. I think that at its best, they are kind of like Shin Megami Tensei, and they're like very moody, and like they have themes about, you know, man has surpassed God because man creates and man has knowledge. And at its worst, it's transphobic and homophobic and just awful. And also kind of brings out like the worst types of ideas and at least American high school boys' minds of like, I can be a shitty person, or like, this is all I need for friends is what I see in this video game. At its best, though, it is just a cool anime that you play. It's got RPG. I don't think that the two systems mesh very well. Some days when I would be playing through 3 or 4, I'd be like, I'm really into the RPG, and I don't want to go through any of the story. It's boring. And the other times it's the exact opposite. I'm like, fuck this. I don't want to grind. I want to just get through this. I want to see this. I want to save Yukiko in Persona 4. I want to just save her and see what happens next. And other times I'm like, but I really want to get powerful. I don't think that they mesh very well. That's my Persona story for you. I have started Persona 4 Golden twice.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten, I don't know if I would say halfway. I had never gotten all of the characters unlocked. I know there's at least one character from the title sequence that I'm like, this is a playable character in your party, and I did not get them. So I don't know if that's like not that far at all, or if that is pretty far, because it felt like I played forever. That's the issue with these games too. They take for fucking long. And Persona 3, I played Persona 3 Portable, which is the PSP version. Basically, Devin, honest to God, what I played is exactly what this movie is. I don't think I ever got farther than what this movie has. Because there's a tease at the end with a character I know of, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I never got her. I have never even seen her in the game yet. I know who they are, but I haven't seen her yet in the game. And like, this movie is like, basically, honest to God, I could just not watch the rest and be like, yep, that's my Persona 3 experience right there.
Interesting.
I will say I like the characters and vibe of Persona 3 more than Persona 4, because I feel like there's more of like an actual like cool plot. But at the same time, from what I've played, meaning wise and what its message is, I feel like it's a little more classic anime of like, you just need to be open to other people. Whereas Persona 4 is just more like, there's a side of all of us that we don't like and we can't get rid of it. You have to embrace it and maybe help that change who you want to become, type of thing. Of course, that game is also like, no, Kanji, you're not gay, you just like knitting. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't fully respect the series. And then obviously they went on to make Catherine, which has a giant, ha ha ha, this woman's a man joke in it, and that's awful. So that's my experience with Persona 3. I respect the games. Same times I feel like they are a bit overrated because they are not that amazing, because I don't feel like they fit very well. But I do enjoy them. And watching this movie, me like, yeah, no, I liked all this stuff. I guess if I could just see the games in these formats, movies, that would be perfect. Because I'm like, there is nothing here that I'm like, feel like I'm missing. Everything that like, I'm like, I like everything about the games, not like game, like RPG wise, that I liked about the games. They were all in this movie, the whole thing. I don't need to sit for 100 hours and experience it. I just need to watch 3 more of these movies. I'm done.
You got the story. You got the whole thing.
Yeah, but you've played it more recently than me as one of these games. So tell me.
Yeah. So you, I think, gifted it to me for my birthday last year. So
how ironic!
Literally a year ago today, almost. Persona 4 Golden on Steam. So I played the Steam version. I don't know if there's differences from that one compared to other ones. I doubt it, but just for clarification. And yeah, I played about 20, 30 hours on stream. I don't know. And going in, I didn't really have any expectations besides this, like, I know it's anime, and that's cool. I've learned to appreciate anime as I've gotten older. I wasn't always... Man, I grew up watching Pokemon and all that kind of stuff, and like Dragon Ball Z a little bit and Gundam. I always thought it was kind of cool, but like
Zoids,
Remember
fucking
that? Zoids, yeah.
That was
Zoids.
a 5 a.m. show. I would sneak downstairs, turn on the TV.
Yeah.
Zoids was always on.
I always remember it was on before my football practice in like 3rd grade or whatever it was. It was like at 4:30 or something like that.
Oh my God.
But I say all this is that's really my expectation was like, okay, this is an anime game. I thought it was going to be a lot of... Like, I thought since it was based off school children, it was going to be very kid-oriented and whatnot. And then, like, quickly I realized, I'm like, no, this is pretty suggestive at moments. And I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think I didn't really get to too much... I stopped right where, like, it started becoming a little homophobic. With one of the
you got
characters.
basically very close to seeing a very, very like offensive gay panic scene.
Yeah,
that's just uncalled for.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely charm in it. from when the game I was playing, Persona 4, that I thought there was charm in it, and like it kept wanting me to keep going. I was kind of more on the story side than I was on the RPG side. I found the RPG stuff to be a little mundane after a little while. Like I'd be excited to go into a dungeon, but then after 20 or 30 minutes, I'm like, this isn't fun anymore.
I think
fighting the same enemies.
Yeah, and it's just the same tactics you just repeat over and over again. The
Yeah.
whole franchise, Shin Megami Tensei and Persona, which is supposed to be an offshoot of Shin Megami Tensei, but at this point, it's bigger than its parent franchise, so it's its own thing. They are definitely like that. Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out last fall, and I've been playing it. Friend of the show, David, has been playing it too. And it's like, yeah, each area has these 6 types of enemies, and just they're always weak to this, and you just know I cycle through my people, I'll do these, and then I'm done. And it's not fast enough.
Like the boss fights were
mean?
kind of cool, and that kept me on my toes, and the story intertwining with that was cool. But most of the monsters, after you see them 2 or 3 times, it was kind of like whatever. And there wasn't, since there's only 4 different materia or whatever the fuck it's called. I'm thinking Final Fantasy, but whenever it is, the 4 different powers, and they all have
the elements.
All the elements. You know what weaknesses are to each one, and compared to Pokemon, when there's so many different types of Pokemon, I think it adds a little bit more to the variety, so it doesn't feel
because it's harder to cover the whole spread.
Yeah,
you can easily cover the gambit with your 4 characters in Persona,
and it just
or
becomes
whatever.
very it feels like a chore after a certain point in time,
because you don't gain enough experience to make it easy to breeze through the pace of new to then okay, I think I've seen enough. Okay, new, that doesn't happen. It's just I think I've seen enough. I have seen enough. I want to move on, but I'm not strong enough, so I have to keep fighting these guys. And then oh my god, this is a procedurally generated maze of hallways. Oh my god, I'm lost. I just want to leave.
Yeah. But yeah, I really liked the story more than I thought I would. Generally, I found myself being interested in it. Where it's cheesy. It does have its moments of oh, that kind of sucks, like you mentioned. But I didn't get too far, like I said earlier, where it was too bad. But there was a lot of moments where my character is just cool for no reason. Just oh, and all girls like you, and all the professors make that a point to tell you that oh, you probably can get any girl. It's why? Who? It's just very. It just seems very catered to the antisocial teen who's just horny as fuck in high school. That's what it seems like it's catered to.
And it sucks to think this, but I swear the people that I see on social media or whatever that are really into Persona, I'm happy for you. I'm really into other things too, and I hope people are happy for me for being that. But what I'm saying is the people that are really into the friendships and those characters, and they love them so much, I'm part of me thinks maybe you didn't have a whole lot of friends in school and you just relate to this. You see this and you're awesome. Because my character doesn't have to start conversations with people. People just come up and talk to me.
Which is fair. I mean, social anxieties and whatnot are definitely an issue. I've had majority of my life, and I've only gotten better through time.
No, I think you've gotten worse. But
to
each his own.
To each their own. But I just feel they take it to another level where it's just like you said, where it's just it makes excuses for for you to be a jerk to people. It just seems oh, you can. There's no consequences really. Some of the relationships in the game are kind of hurt, but these people are still going to hang out with you because you have to go fight the monsters, and you can be a dick to everybody.
I don't know if I've never played Persona 5. Obviously, that should be apparent if I say I've only played 3 and 4. And actually, I will say I started the original on a PSP emulator. Didn't get it very far. You have actual just guns that you use as weapons in that game. I don't know if they changed this aspect in 5 at all, but in 4 at least, your social links with each of your party members, they can go all the way up to the max. And there's other people you can have social links with as well. It's how much you connect to the world around you. But any of the girls, their max level is, okay, now you're dating. What if I don't want that? You know what I mean? Why does it have to start all of those conversations with those, because it's just then like, well, I don't want this to be weird for my playthrough, so do I just stop hanging out with GA because she's at 8 out of 9, or I don't know, whatever it ends at, you know what I mean? Like, do I just not do that? You know, but whatever.
Yeah, like, it's kind of the classic, like, thing you see in, like, male-viewed types of plots where it's just like, you're not the problem. Everyone else is around you. Oh, and girls are only meant for dating. You can't be friends with them. It's either all or nothing. Like, that's kind of the attitude I got at moments in the game. But then there's moments, like I said, where I felt they talked a little bit about social anxiety a little bit. But I feel like they could have delved more into that side and made it more of a, like, how do you fight that? How do you get better at communicating with people?
And to be fair, neither of us finished the game.
Yeah, so maybe it does.
I just know enough from outside sources
the game
or whatever
sets
to
you
know
up
that
as,
it's
like,
not like it's...
you're super cool. Everyone knows you're cool just from looking at you. Everyone thinks you're hot, or all the girls think you're hot, and teachers know it for some reason. And yeah, so like there's definitely like some big issues like that, but then there's like small little stuff in it that I just feel like if they flesh that out more, it could be a really good, like, series. But the story, for some reason, just has a lot of charm to it. I can't really point my finger on what it is, but you keep coming back. You know what I mean? So, like,
that is the weird magic of Persona. In
like,
that sense.
if honestly, like, if the game's 100 hours or whatever the fuck, Persona 4, but if, like, none of the grinding was there, like, none of that stuff, and like you said, these movies might act like that, where it's like, if it's just the story, sure, because there's some
or
cool
if just
shit.
the combat was just like there was maybe there is an easy mode, but like hey, like, you just can win this battle. If there was just a mode like that where, like, hey, if you want to grind, cool, but like you just toggle this on and we can just kind of skip through this a bit if you'd like, That'd would be cool. Beating all of these games. And I play RPGs. I platinumed Final Fantasies. Like, I do the grind, but like it just never, the two sides never meet. Yeah. I don't know if I've said this in a podcast or even to you or on stream or whatever. I feel like Persona 4 specifically is the only video game I can think of that fits with the old kind of movie and book thing of, like, this is a classic, but there's some shit in this that ain't cool anymore. There's some racism in this, not the game, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, everyone loves H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Dude was racist. So it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean you cast it away completely. It just means you gotta know what is in there before you talk about it. And you can still enjoy those things as long as you maintain a focus on the lens.
It's like reading any novel from the early 1900s, like American, like a lot of American literature has the N-word in it, just, and not in a way that's supposed to be like,
it's just, that's the word we use. And it's
yeah,
like, okay, but... So it's
it's
and there are movies too that are like that as well. As like, okay, well, you can watch this, but like, just understand, you know, you're coming into a part.
One of my favorite movies, and I still say people should watch it, but Predator has a lot of homophobia in it. Like, the dudes just drop the F-bomb like a couple times in the movie. It's kind of like, it's funny when they say it, but also not funny at the same time. It's like, damn, this would not fly today.
But that doesn't necessarily mean they go away, because is the intent of the whole thing to be like that? No. Well, then you make an effort to cast aside those. That's what I think with
Persona is what it is. It's like, it's not making an effort, or it is making.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing is the main director and producer of the series and a couple of the people on there are transphobic. They are homophobic. That's what they think. So when that person has a story about, like, there's a part of you on the inside you might not like, and you might want to be someone else completely. You can't be that person. You have to be a mix of who you want to be and who you actually are. If that person is also transphobic and homophobic,
yeah, you're right.
Well, okay, so then, you know, so it's not necessarily an unintentional, like, hey, you know, we just don't use that word anymore. Like, no, that's what this person thinks. But there's so much, like, cool and good stuff in there that it's like, as long as you make a conscious effort and you know what I mean? You're not blindly being like, this is all awesome or this is all bad. Then it's okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I will say, Persona 5 was the bad people's last game. They moved on. So that means potentially a Persona 6 could be have none of that shit.
Make Persona 6, have everyone in there be gay, trans, fuck it, let's do it. Do everything that you should have done. Do everything you should have done and put it in one game.
They actually had to, I don't know if there was a patch or if it was just in the English translation, Persona 5 Royal patched out, or just when it came to America, the golden version of 5 was called Royal. They changed the context and phrasing of a pretty transphobic scene. They're like, hey, no, Americans just don't like this, and for some reason we kept it in the original version of Persona 5 in 2017. It's 2020 now. We're not going to do this. If we need to make a statement, we'll make a statement about it, but the English version is not going to be transphobic. You know, so at least like it's not like people are like, well, the game creator, the master that directed our hit selling game says this, we can't touch it. At least there's people at Atlas being like, and probably Sega proper being like, hey, no. Sega being, to my knowledge, the first of any consequence Japanese technology company that openly protects gay and trans and I almost said transphobic, gay and trans people in their company. It was probably like, hey, no, drop that shit. So hopefully that's he's going forward. But
yeah, overall, that's my my experience with Persona in general. This is mostly Persona 4, and my username Persona was long story short, a reference to Persona. So it's kind of funny that like it took this long to play a game and being like, oh, so this is where it comes from.
Yeah,
loosely.
Yep.
So
at least that's our assumption, is it was because the friend
I can ask.
did it.
I can ask because I'll ask.
Okay, you do that.
I'll get back to you.
Yes. So yeah, Persona 3, the movie, number one, Spring Rebirth, seemingly, from my knowledge, covers the first quarter of the game. And if that's the case, then I don't feel like I played too little if I played a quarter, because I didn't feel like I played a whole lot. And if I only played a quarter, well, then there we go. This, direct to DVD or streaming or whatever, 2013 animated film. I will say overall, it does some stuff I've seen in animes in general that I'm not really a big fan of. At the same time, is so faithful enough to the game. And again, this movie is the game, in my opinion, or to my view, because I haven't played farther than this movie, besides maybe a little bit. I've had two of the people that aren't ever in combat in this movie, I've had them in my team. So like, okay, maybe I'll play a little bit further. But and you know, so as far as, you know, I'm concerned, this is just what the game is to me. It's so faithful to that. I'm like, I'm seeing sets in the movie. I'm like, this is just one-to-one recreated from what the game is. You take an anime game, you make an anime movie. It's very easy to just say, oh, yes, this is what the outside shopping mall is like, and it is exactly the same layout. You know, this is what Tartarus looks like. The whole like the calendar moving. They might have easily just traced over that. You know what I mean? Some of that stuff is just straight from
I was
there.
like, damn, they're really doing it. Like honestly, this is a, you know, there's video games out there that are definitely trying to be more like a playable movie than anything else. And I feel like this is the closest you'll get to getting the perfect in between, where it's like you actually don't. The only button you have to hit to play this game is press play on your Amazon Prime account or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
and then you're playing the game. You're playing the game, because this felt like a video game the whole time, but just a long ass cutscene mixed with like the combat felt like an anime, but like the cuts from the Velvet Room to the day, like, oh, a week passed, like that kind of stuff. Like, I'm like, this is the game.
It's very faithful,
very like more than any other movie we've watched.
Yeah,
like video game movie we watched, where like there's been, you know, maybe poses a character does that's from a game or something, or like this set is kind of loosely based off this, or the set pieces. But like this is like, no, like you just said, did they trace over this? Did they just take it from the game? For all we know, it could have been. You know what I mean?
Whenever they reach the dark hour and like the green clock goes green and then it shatters, exactly the same cutscene. Whenever you're like, yes, I'd like to go to Tartarus and play the RPG
Yeah.
stuff, that happens as the transition.
And
I'm
the
like,
soundtrack,
oh, they just do it.
There's some songs that are in Persona 4, which I'm assuming they've just been in all the games then. Like for the Velvet Room.
Like the songs are just straight up like there's a couple that are extended and remixed, but like no, this is just the combat music. This is the boss music. This is this music. Because I've listened to the soundtrack quite a bit. I use for some of my streaming stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know all these songs. You know?
That's crazy, huh? But yeah, I think before we jump in, I'll just say that overall, I think I liked it. I didn't love it. I felt like kind of dragged at moments.
Okay.
Could have been a little shorter, maybe for me. But it was kind of exciting, just even from just playing Persona 4, like hearing some of the music from that game in this, and seeing some of the monsters from it, like in a same way, but just in a different, I guess angle or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of cool. And I come away from it being like I said, I think I like it, but there's moments where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about them pointing guns to their head every time they need to summon Persona. And
Yeah.
like, is there, once again, and talk about like how I feel like they want to talk about mental illness sometimes, and I feel like they do it in a good way, and other times not in a good way. And I feel like this is just another example of that, where I'm like, suicide, that's a tough subject for a lot of people. And like, I find it cool in one way. In other moments, I'm like, but I don't know if this feels right at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
I honestly never even thought of that until you said it just now.
Would this be like? I'm sure this would be triggering to people who have had like attempts at suicide or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that you can't make content like this or movies like this, but it's more of just like thinking about it from that way, but also thinking about the ways like, is this an ethical, like, is it cool to be like, yeah, shooting yourself in the head to summon your true God?
I mean, it definitely is
you.
a cool visual.
Yeah, it's cool.
Which is,
I think
it
what
might
it
be
is.
why they even did it. At the same time, I know like the roots of the series of the franchise, basically like 3 took the turn into what people know Persona is now. The first 2 are very much like Shin Megami Tensei games. You fought demons. They weren't called shadows. They were demons because that's what they are in Shin Megami Tensei. And like their themes were way more heavy-handed and dark or just deep. You know what I mean? And then there was the change of like, okay, but the whole idea was you're playing as school kids. Let's actually do the school life and do that back and forth and relationships and this and that. It's like more of a T rating from an M, even though I think they all are rated M, I think. But yeah, like, so some of that stuff I think carries over into Persona 3, and it's then lost in Persona 4, and I think it gains other things instead. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is meaning there, but at the same time, I can also see just like, no, these are kids in a school club that's all about hunting down shadows.
Yeah.
We need a cool visual. They all have guns. They don't shoot bullets. They shoot out fractures of their souls. You know what I mean? Like, I can see that, but at the same time, I can also see, and it means that, the self-harm you inflict upon yourself is the defiance of the gods that created you, or something. You know what I mean? I can also see that as well, because they kind of do that sometimes, whether it's really cool or just kind of lame and just that they say it, But yeah, no, I never thought about that being like potentially like a thing. I mean, one of the first scenes in the game and this movie is Yukari too scared to shoot herself in the head as she sits in her room before you even know that what the gun is, and you just see a gun.
That's what I'm saying. Literally, someone commits suicide in the beginning of this movie. Someone jumps in front of a train, and they never mention it again. It just happens. And so, like, we start with that, and then you have this whole, like, they keep shooting themselves, and everyone else is in coffins. Everyone else is dead. Like, I'm just like, I feel like they're trying to say something, but I'm like, what are they trying? Like, that's my thing. My issue
we might find out more in the other movies. Again, I haven't played beyond this first movie's worth in the game.
But I think it's fair to, like...
So I don't know.
Fair, though, to analyze it from that bit, like, because if this is their only context so far, and for people who might... This might be their only Persona thing they've encountered. If this is what you're showcasing, I think there's gonna, like... I have questions, just like... what's with the whole shooting themselves in the head thing? Couldn't you find a different way of doing this and
And
also
I think
be cool?
in Persona 4 it was just their glasses. I think it was just glasses or just tarot cards. It's one of the two. By the same time, that's not as nearly a cool visual of, pulling out the gun to your head to summon your persona.
I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh's pretty cool. He pulls out cards and fucking blue dragons pop out of the card. So
hell yeah. The kid goes from a little stupid twink to like a hot boy with purple, black, and gold hair.
Yeah.
With a pyramid as a necklace. Remember when his rival threatened to jump off a ledge to kill himself if he lost, and that made Yugi like give up?
I don't remember that episode now.
Yeah, it was when they showed off Blue Eyes 3-headed dragon or whatever it was called for the first time, and he's like, I'm losing. I'll jump off this ledge and die if you beat me. I was like 7, maybe I'm misremembering.
I do not remember that.
But I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! That show is a lot like Persona and Pokemon in that it's I saw someone on Twitter call this the genre of monster collecting should be called guys acquisition games. You are just collecting. You're acquiring some guys. That's what Persona kind of is you're trying to collect all of these guys, and they are a guise of yourself. So I enjoyed it, I think, obviously more than you, simply because I already knew who these people were, and like I just had a little bit of nostalgia for it, even though it was less than 3 years since I played it. So it's not like I was like, because the game came out in like 2005, 2006.
Great year.
And the PSP version came out in like 2010. I played the PSP version. But we can go into like a bit of a recap. I will say like the game's making a better effort to help American game players that don't watch a lot of anime to know what's the first name, what's the last name of a character. And why an upperclassman would be calling someone below them, younger than them, their first name, but all of their peers call them by their last name. You know what I mean? Like some of that stuff, like if you don't know that in this movie, is just immediately lost on you because it's translated, but not super localized, if that makes sense. Yeah. The games always make an effort of like, we will say the word senpai in English, like we'll say it voice over. Our English voice actors will say senpai and stuff like that because we're easing it into you a bit. You just know. Here I'm like, all right, I happen to know the first names of these characters, but I can easily see how you might think it was the opposite of some.
If you told me what any of the characters' names are right off the top of my head without looking at my notes, I don't remember any. So
okay,
but I also have an issue as a ignorant white American of being very bad at remembering like names that aren't English,
really
Protestant names. Like I can remember European leaders from world wars, but like
you don't remember Akihiko? He's the boxer.
But you could have just made that up. I wouldn't know.
He was the one guy that punched. But yeah, no. So there is a school, and I think it takes place in Tokyo. A high school that some kids go to. They don't really make an effort of saying why there's a special dorm, a special co-ed, empty, like hotel quality dorm.
Yeah, it's very nice.
The game never did either.
But nice.
And the layout of that lobby exactly like the game, which made me be like, wow. It's like I've seen the top-down angle of the PSP version just from below, and I'm looking across.
That's crazy.
It feels so like weird and like in a good way. And yeah, like there is the C's super extracurricular execution squad. I think that's their name. They're a club that hunts down Shadow, or maybe it's Shadow. I don't know, whatever. If you're American and you don't know, school clubs have armbands on their left arms about their club activity. No, it's not a Nazi thing. I can see how someone can easily see the like, wow, their main characters have like Nazi armbands. It's like, no, it's just like a weird Japanese club thing.
Yeah,
I mean, know you play
growing
volleyball.
up, I always saw it a lot in like Godzilla movies too, like the Godzilla Defense Force or whatever the fuck will have bands with shit on it. And I guess I'm used to it, but like I guess I didn't think about it that way. I'm like, yeah, I guess they could look like the
especially
SS.
since this was red and black.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and new kid, Makoto Yuki, is our blue-haired boy with the cool MP3 player that's like a lanyard, and the just the dangly earphones. That's part of his default outfit.
I did like his little
through.
iPod Nano or MP3 player, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like a lanyard thing.
I thought it was a thumb drive at first, but then they showed it more close up, and I'm like, okay.
I didn't know it was for the longest time because in the game you don't see the screen on it; it just looks like a pill. So I'm like, what is that? And then I'm like tracing, like it's attached to his headphones. Is it like an MP3 player? Very weird. This is the game takes place in 2009, and this shows this movie, but it came out in 2006. So it's a little bit of like assuming we still use flip phones, but Japan held on to flip phones a lot longer than we did. So like that's the thing there. He's at midnight. He knows that everyone turns into coffins but him. He's never been attacked by a shadow before. He's just so cool. He just is boring. It's the type of anime protagonist that I just don't dig. I actually like the dude from Persona 4 more, simply because he just has a likable personality, even though he doesn't talk either. You know what I mean? Because they don't want you don't want to take your voice away. You're the protagonist. You know what I mean? But even in like the other media, because I played the Persona 4 fighting game, and I've played half of Persona 4 Dancing All Night, and he is just a character that talks since he's not the main character anymore, with a personality and a voice, and he's just like a likable dude that wants to help people. He's also apparently super cool and super hot for underage kids or whatever. I like him more than just he's like all the bad qualities
this
of Cloud,
guy's a lot
but
more,
not cool.
Like just emo vibes.
Yeah,
for sure. I was thinking it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying like it. Adding in once again this whole like loosely self-harm thing that happens.
He has a bit of trauma. You know, his parents died.
Yeah,
in a car wreck. He sees some of those flashbacks when people go to fight. You know,
just out of all the characters, I feel like he's the most like, yeah, I'll do it.
Understood.
Yeah, sure.
Personal space. That's like the only like
that's the only
stuff he says.
line that I did think he was funny. Every time he did say that, he's like, personal space.
Yeah. So he goes there, and they definitely like speed things along because they're not going to spend 30 hours to 99 minutes for story stuff. So they definitely just speed you along to the rooftop battle there, where he summons his persona. Then it changes into something else, and I don't remember seeing that, so that must be a late game thing that they're alluding to now. I like how his persona is Orpheus, from Greek mythology, which is cool. Although I like you just get rid of him pretty quickly if you're fusing, so it's like whatever. Yeah, and then it's just a lot of, I don't know. They go to school. We get a lot of exposition about shadows, and there's a 25th hour at night, and everyone turns into coffins except for us, and we're hunting down shadows, and the school turns into the Tower of Tartarus.
And it seems like everyone knows it, except I know that like the people who turn to coffins don't know it, but like it feels like everyone knows about it though.
Everyone that matters knows.
Yeah,
type of thing.
Or the people they only really show. Like I don't think they ever really show people being like, like, oh, like you just appeared in my house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many like little things like that I would think about being like, okay, if I get home at the 25th hour or when it's ending, I'll just appear in the living room in front of my parents. You know what I mean? Right. Like, how does that work? Do they know that they're frozen?
Yeah, it is a little.
But whatever,
wonky.
Magic.
It could also be one of those things. I actually don't know, honestly. Is this always the way it was, or is this a recent thing that started?
In the last year,
because all the Persona games are connected. They take place sequentially in time. In Persona 4, the Persona 3 kids are out of high school. In Persona 5, everyone's even older. Like the Persona 4 fighting game has the kids from 3 out of school, and they're like whatever they do for a living now, but they still hunt shadows together, or in their off time. So like some of that stuff. So like I don't know if any of this stuff happens in 1 or 2.
I want to know if this is worldwide too. Or is it just the
They only care about Japan.
Because I remember in Persona 4, it's specifically like that town.
Yep, they only care about Japan. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? It could have been like I just started this year.
Last week, brother.
Last week, brother. I don't know why I just repeated you. Although you do it to me all the time, so. Yeah, and we get montages of him going to school, meeting friends. We got Yukari, I don't know what her last name is, like Teneba or Tekna or something. She's actually kind of funny. She gets better in the game, from what I remember, personality-wise. We have, what's his name? Junji?
Sounds kind of right.
His baseball hat. He likes baseball. That's why he swings his two-handed sword like a baseball bat.
He's very jealous of our main character.
Which I don't remember being in the game. He was always just like I'm trying my best and I'm suck, but I'm trying my best and I'm having fun. I just want to be here. So unless that's a late game thing that they decided to put in this movie to give some character development for her, then that's a new addition if that's not the case. You got Mitsuru and Akihiko. They're our upperclassmen. They've been doing this for a bit. Mitsuru doesn't fight in this movie, which is weird because she's definitely in your party. She uses a rapier. Akihiko punches. In the English versions, Mitsuru is voiced by the same woman that does... what's her name? From Spider-Man. The cop lady.
The sheriff, kind of.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Not a sheriff, but like basically one of the higher up detective. Police people.
Yeah, exactly. And she's also in Drakengard 3, which is how I first realized. Wait a second, this is the same voice. Wait a second, this voice is in Spider-Man. Wait a second, do the actors always just do their same voice in all of their stuff? And then you have Fuka, who's very funny in the game. She becomes like your voice in the radio to her person as you play. And then who else is a main character? There's the weird prison boy that pops up sometimes to say, hey.
Honestly, now that you say the whole like armband thing, he kind of looked like the boy in the striped pajamas.
Shit. Yeah,
bro. I'm starting to think, man, this might be like something else. Like disguised as something else.
Maybe it has that. Maybe
you have people pointing guns to their heads. You have like in striped pajamas. You have armbands. I don't know. Someone needs to maybe do a even deeper dive.
I mean, if you wanted to abbreviate C's into something even shorter, SS. So,
fuck.
Damn.
God damn.
They have their own special little clubhouse. They're all born special. Whatever. Yeah, and like they fight some shadows. They go to Tartarus. It's like a lot of just the early
the big
stuff,
castle's
getting used to the world.
Tartarus, that's cool.
Yeah. That's one of like the things that I think Persona 4 did kind of better than 3 is that like your dungeon was the tower in 3. There was some parts where like when they go to the train and like the they don't really show it much, but there's like a motel or hotel that they go into. You don't really do random encounters, more of like they decide what room should we go into and you pick off a list and then maybe there's a guy in there or not. It's less of like the RPG grinding stuff is all in that tower and it just goes up for fucking ever. It's like 200 floors or whatever.
Jesus.
It's like, all right, you pick a range that are like this dungeon is, floors, 40 to 60 and you can warp to 40 type of stuff.
So do you keep going up in the game?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I didn't beat it, but yeah.
So like you keep going up and then the more higher you go up, you can teleport to the last floor you were on.
I think every 10 is the checkpoints, so to speak.
Gotcha.
We're like, I mean, if you die, you reloads your last save and you can only save in the lobby of the tower.
I guess if you're really committed.
But if you want to leave, you can.
Really committed to the game, like in terms of that grind, I bet you it feels good to beat it at the end. Or maybe it doesn't. And you're like, God damn, I did way too many floors.
So I said I played Persona 3 Portable on PSP, which is like, a port but has extra stuff in it. It was the second re-release that has extra stuff in it. Game was initially a PS2 game. They got a re-release on PS2 that added an epilogue, which added 100 floors to that tower. And they're very hard. And you get to see like a super sad ending or whatever. That version has all that stuff, as well as like anime cutscenes that the original didn't have. Instead of in-game cutscenes, they animated some, like maybe sort of similar to how this movie does it. PSP version doesn't have any of those things, but instead has the option to play as a girl. It's a different character you play as, and like they balance the game so it's easier. I think they like rebalanced everything. So like unlike Golden, where there's a clear, this version just has more stuff. There's like 2 versions that have, some are better and some are not. Whatever. But yeah, the tower's cool. Makoto is very much, our main character Makoto is very much like just disconnected, doesn't care. His parents are dead, but like he doesn't really open up or talk to anyone. He's just doing it just to do something.
Seems to go with the flow and like will just do what everyone else says. Doesn't really have any motives.
Yeah.
Which is just makes the character boring to me. Like there's got to be a motive.
I think the movie was trying to hint at the end that he's opened up a little bit when he smiles. So maybe
I'm just saying, like,
more personable
why are you even
in the
here?
next one. He's just the special one. I mean, honestly, probably the best way they can represent the protagonist, the player character, who responds with like 2 different choices when someone prompts a question out of him. You know what I mean? Because he's not the star; it's all the other cast. So, you know what I mean? I guess it's maybe almost too faithful to the game in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not playing these games to know more about what you do.
They really
You don't care about yourself in Persona. You care about, all the other characters. So, but at the same time, as a movie, and he's the main character.
Yeah, and it's not really shown in a way that you're supposed to be him, except for like in the Velvet Room, it's kind of confusing where it's like, are they talking to the audience? Are they talking to him? Are they talking to you or talking to him as you?
Right. Yeah. Are they even talking to him at all? I mean, they are talking to him, but like you, the player, you or him. I will say I do love, and I forgot that the Velvet Room in Persona 3 was an elevator, like a freight elevator.
That was kind of cool. I like that a little bit more than the limo, and
yeah.
I like seeing the lights like flash occasionally, like it's going through another set of floors. Yeah.
Occasionally he kind of Makoto, our main character, kind of clashes his apathy. Ironic because there's apathy syndrome, which I guess is when the shadows get someone and they don't kill them. They just become so disconnected. That's way more like said out loud in the game. The movie just kind of just says it's a thing. But yeah, you're just like, you're a zombie. You just walk around, which is basically what he does. But his sense of apathy clashes sometimes when he sees Fuka and he doesn't understand, well, these bitches are bullying you. And you still are friends with at least one of them. Why? I think that maybe she kind of opens him up a little bit. Maybe that's what makes him realize. But at the same time, he's kind of boring, like you said. Maybe it gets better in the second one. Maybe he has growth, or he just gets put in the background. But yeah, they go through. They're just learning more stuff.
The train scene was kind of cool, but I have a question. Once again, there's a lot of like imagery that I feel like isn't fleshed out enough.
Okay,
like I get sometimes you don't want to. I like movies too where like there's things that you have conversations about and like that's on purpose and you kind of come to your own conclusion. But I feel like since the setting is supposed to be high school and there's a lot of, like I said, just mental illness stuff, but then there's no like substance around that stuff. So it just feels like you're just using imagery of like suicide, depression, bullying. Like the only one that has some substance is what you were just describing, where like, oh, these characters are bullying you and you keep coming back to them. Maybe there's a conversation. There's more of a conversation there at the least. But all the other stuff, I feel like there's just like, it just happens. But that one boss on the train is this like zombie woman.
She's like an ice queen or something.
But her boobs say BJ on it.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, like it's just painted. It says B on one and J on the other, and I'm like, is that supposed to be like sexualization of something or someone? is that supposed to be like slut shaming? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is this what that character is supposed to represent? Is it just there? Does that mean something else in Japanese? Like, I have more questions there, and they never talk about it, or like, there's no hints to it, like later on or before.
Yeah, I don't know if
None
any
of
of
the other
the
monsters
bosses
are-
represent like, like Japanese lore or anything. Like I know some of the demons in Shin Megami Tensei straight up are like, this is a yokai of this. I don't remember seeing any like, obvious parallels of like, this Persona boss, the ones that aren't like supposed to be one of the characters of Persona 4, that is, but like Persona 3 didn't have that angle, they were just powerful shadows. I don't remember seeing any being like, this is clearly supposed to represent this. So I think either they are just cool designs or it is something tied to a narrative, message they want to say. I didn't see the BJ.
I was just like watching it and I'm just like, is this supposed to be something? But there was no monster, like she wasn't summoning other monsters that like are related to that. You know what I mean? And like there's, I don't know, just I feel like there's something missing there. And I don't know if it's just like we thought this would look cool, which is fine. Don't know if I
remember the train. I don't remember
like,
fighting a boss on the train. Maybe I did, and it was just I beat it one try, so I like forgot about it.
Yeah.
I do remember the train. I also love too the first persona that he's able to summon besides his main one is the series mascot Jack Frost. It's a cute little snow demon. He doesn't talk, which makes me sad because his catchphrase is just simply saying "hee ho," and he'll talk in like Shin Megami Tensei games, and always every line has to fit somewhere in there. He, and then later in it, ho. He'll be like, "You he bitches are gonna get ho knocked out." He'll just say something like that when you go to fight him or whatever. It's always cute and funny. But I'm just sad he didn't talk. But he has Jack Frost.
Yeah. I don't know. I just said, like I said, like this whole movie, I just had more questions than answers. And there's some things that I'm like, I'm okay just not needing an answer for, because sometimes you just gotta.
And there are 3 other movies, and like I don't have answers for you because I only played literally what this movie has. So I don't know. I know more about Persona 4 from what I haven't played than I know of Persona 3 from what I haven't played, if that makes sense. And like I imagine story-wise for both this 4 movies and the game don't want to have character development come to a complete close in the first quarter in this first movie. So Yukari probably has whatever she's going through explained later on, and I think his name is Junji or Jinji. Fuck, I don't remember.
It's not Shinji.
It's not Shinji, no. And I don't. From what I remember from the game, Mitsuru and Akihiko don't really have any issues laying out in front. They're supposed to be the reliable, you can depend on them upperclassmen that know what they're doing. She's elegant, rich, powerful, and he's a boxer, and he has a cool sweater vest, and he's got a cool American haircut, and he's just cool, and we like them. Also, they were totally just spying on our main dude sleeping.
Yeah, that was very weird.
Even
they took that
Yukari's
to
like,
the
I don't
extreme.
feel like this is right. I'm like, yeah, you're just watching him sleep. What if this dude slept in his clothes with his shoes on, which is weird. But like, what if he changed? You watched that.
Yeah, there's a lot of just issues there. A lot of
And this is a co-ed dorm, and you're underage, and I understand Japanese underage consent laws are different than Americans, but like, still, from what I know, that's still
spying
weird.
on anybody is weird. Exactly. Doesn't matter the context. Exactly. Spying on someone is weird.
So please don't update your security camera you have in your living room. All right, I've been able to tap in forever. But it's cool. I mean, I like what I've seen in this movie. I even like they do a montage of just skipping through the days of like going to club activities.
They
and
have a really
out.
long fight scene against those 2 like king and queen thing.
Yeah,
and I was kind of confused though, because like they're like, "Go, leave me," and then he doesn't leave, and I'm like, okay, but then they still beat him,
and then they just they make
all
it look like they're just they're done for.
Yeah,
and they're just energized and they get up. I mean, that fight was just a boss fight. There was nothing to that boss fight in the game that was important. It was just boss number 3 or whatever, you know.
It just felt very weird. Like
they
didn't know what direction they wanted to go in with, like,
because they're like, we need to end this movie. This is the climax to the first movie, so give it some substance. And like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, it is cool to be like, yes, this was the boss where they could change what they were immune to and what they were vulnerable to every turn on their turn or whatever. And we visualize that for you. And like, yes, this also happens to be the first boss in the movie where Fuka is able to use her powers and becomes the analyzing person for you. You know, you played Persona 4.
Yeah.
Teddy is like that until you get the character in the game that does that. In Persona 3, Mitsuru is the person that does that for you until you get Fuka, and then Mitsuru's like, I don't need to do that anymore, I can just come in and fight now. Which is probably why they didn't show her fight, because they want to maybe save it for the second movie. So it's cool that they're like, okay, we get to show that. All right, here is the dynamic going on, which is cool. And like,
I just feel like they're waiting for him to like do some crazy move we haven't seen yet,
and he just doesn't.
And all of a sudden, like, never mind, we're all good. We fight him. We learned. Yeah. It's just very. I feel like they could execute that a little bit better. Just something.
I mean, they are fucking, you know, like 16. So
yeah,
maybe they're just dumb. Yeah. Anything of the part in this that you want to talk about?
I feel like all the weird things that popped in my head, like I've said. I mean, there's some cool stuff in this. There's some cool art in this. There's some cool enemies and interesting things like that. There's also a lot of questions for me. Maybe they'll be answered if we watch the other 2 movies. I mean, I'm not like, I guess, like dying to see the next 2 anytime soon. I'm kind of just like, they're fine. They're interesting. I'm just kind of like, if we do watch the other ones, I hope they answer kind of some of my questions. I understand they may not answer every single one that I asked, but like, yeah, what's with the shooting the gun in the head thing? Like, I just feel like there's got to be more to that, or else it just feels like
when all
a little
4
weird
of these movies are dumb. Any questions we'll have, let's just Google them and be like, so what was the meaning behind this? Maybe we can find an interview where they talk to the team there and be like, what's going on? Because I know, like, the second movie is on our list, but it's not on the immediate horizon. There's other movies we're gonna do up first. I didn't want to like make the 4 of these back to back to back. I wanted to give them space to breathe, like how we treated, you know, some of the other series we've done, like Resident Evil. They're not all back to back to back. So we will do all 4 of these, not anytime soon. We're gonna give them room to breathe. We're just gonna go through them.
But overall, like I said, cool. I have questions.
Yeah. Movie ends with a post-credit teaser for, I guess, the second movie, obviously. I mean, they literally say it. They even give it... I love it. This movie gives a date for when the second movie comes out. Just find it a little funny. And they tease the character, I think her name is Aegis. Spoilers. She's a robot.
How?
She's like an android.
Oh, okay.
She's like near, yeah. I don't know if she goes to school or not. Her fingers are like...
if I'm a robot and I'm going to school, I'll be like, why?
Like, fuck this. Exactly. Fuck this. Yes. So I will say we have tiers. We don't rank these movies. We rank the Chronicles of Diesel. I don't want to fucking fight you on anything or even have to agree. It's just not worth it. But we have general tiers of like, yep, great, very good, but not like amazing. Then decent but good, since it's a video game movie, grading on a curve, you know. And then like oof, and then like oof, like oof.
I always imagine a garbage can. I think I've used that a couple of times where I'm like, we've watched the movies that are like at the bottom of this garbage can, and it's like slushy and whatever shit's happening.
They dump the can out and they don't wash the can.
There's some juices stewing down there, and the more movies we add to it, the stinkier it gets.
Not saying all the movies end up in the can.
No, but there's some might be near it, outside the can. Okay. They're not smelling, but there's some that are at the top. And just because you're in a smelly can doesn't mean you're bad either. So like,
yes,
I would put
You've
this movie...
just been used, abused, and thrown out.
Yeah, I would say this movie for me is kind of just like, Ain't the top of the trash can. Ain't at the bottom by any means. But I threw it away like a week ago, and it's kind of there's other garbage on top of it, but it's not like
Okay.
It's not stinking. You know what I mean? Maybe it's starting to decay a little bit, but
for me, I think because I have played
it's fine.
This part of the game, I definitely enjoyed it more. It's a lot of it just will feel forgettable, but the parts I will remember, I'll probably not forget, if that makes sense. So seeing certain scenes and certain settings in this movie in a different angle, realized, so to speak, in a more real way, I think is very cool. I just think it's good. It's it's okay. It's not bad.
We've
it's
seen
not good.
so much worse. That's like light years difference for me.
That's why I say like okay, but good because it's a video game movie. You know what I mean? This is probably one of, if not the most faithful video game movie we've seen since it's literally just
I was saying this felt
the
more
game.
the closest thing to a perfect medium of video game and movie. Where, like I said, the only interaction you have to do is press the start button to watch the movie.
Well, you might have to press a button if you need to go pee, to pause it.
Yeah.
And then you got to press it again. There's a lot of buttons you have to press for this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been a fun episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Next week, we're going to try, I think it is next week, right? Uncharted? When does this movie come out?
Uncharted is the 17th, so not next week.
Right. Oh, yeah, next week is going to be our Sonic anniversary episode.
Oh, that's right.
Next week, we're going to be doing an episode that's essentially titled
Can we agree
Sonic Movie Review Part 4.
Can we agree to do some of the bonus features?
Yes, so Devin and I both have the Steelbook, the 4K Steelbook. We're going to watch the movie, watch all of the special features.
Or we do we'll double check if there's a director's commentary. That might be more interesting to watch than
take a look.
We'll take a look, because I think that'd be
or
kinda
maybe both, the
interesting.
director's commentary and then all of the special features.
I'm not doing that.
Director's commentary and all the special features.
Oh, I thought you said. I thought you wanted.
No.
You wanted to. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No.
I love Sonic, but
yeah. Next week is the Sonic movie 3rd anniversary. Sonic movie review Part 4 for us will be the director's commentary if there is one. If not, it's just
honestly,
the movie
this
again.
should be the start of really our big countdown to Sonic 2.
Yeah.
Really,
as soon as this episode is done, that's what we'll do. And then the week after that is Uncharted, assuming that we are able to see it, and I'm pretty sure we are. So yeah, tweet at us at Sonic Movie Show if you like this Persona movie, if you like Persona in general, and all that jazz. Tweet at me at Ethan Absolutely if you think my criticisms of Persona are incorrect. I may not respond, but feel free to tweet at me. Tweet at Devin at Cursona Fun, not Persona Fun. Cursona Fun.
And let me know
that you like it.
And let me know if there should be a Persona where it's about cats.
Yes.
Because I'd play
TikTok at Sonic Movie Show.
Mm-hmm.
Chronicles of Diesel every first of the month. We just did Last Witch Under, which is definitely a Persona game.
If you listen to this whole show and you're happen to be on iTunes or fucking iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or the fuck it's called, go give it a rating. Give it your honest rating. I would appreciate a 5, but you can give an honest rating, just like we gave Persona 3, the movie, Spirits Within, whatever the title is.
Yeah,
we gave that a fair rating. So yeah,
it wasn't a great rating, but it was fair. Yes. Yeah, no one, I don't think anyone rates on those services, so it helps out, I think, with discoverability.
It
does.
Help
us get discovered.
I think people tend to
camera.
listen to things where there's a lot of stars and a lot of numbers next to that stars.
Yes. Yes. We'll see you next week for a fast and...
He almost said Fast and Furious.
I'm trying to think of something else to say.
Fast and Blue.
And hedgehoggiest episode.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Persona!